True strength begins when you think less, talk less, and focus more. Have you ever wondered why the strongest people you meet often speak the least? They do not rush to share their opinions. They do not feel the need to prove themselves in every conversation. They do not scatter their attention across 100 things at once. There is a depth to them, a quiet power that does not come from noise, but from focus. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They believed that the strength of a person was not measured by how much they could say or think, but by how well they could direct their mind and energy toward what truly mattered. We live in a world that rewards noise. Social media trains us to share every thought the moment it appears. The news cycle pulls our attention toward every crisis, real or manufactured. Opinions are offered like currency, traded and discarded within hours. In this environment, stillness feels unnatural and silence feels almost impossible. But stillness is where strength grows. When you stop filling every moment with chatter, both external and internal, you begin to hear something else, your own mind, your own judgment, your own purpose. The Stoics practiced this deliberately. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, kept a private journal where he wrote not for the world, but for himself. He did not write to impress others with clever words. He wrote to sharpen his own thinking, to strip away what was unnecessary, to remind himself daily of the principles he wanted to live by. Seneca warned against scattering the mind by chasing too many things at once, urging us to pour ourselves fully into the task before us. Epictetus advised that we should speak only when it improves upon silence, and that much of what troubles us comes not from events themselves, but from the endless commentary we add to them. Thinking less does not mean thinking poorly. It means thinking clearly without drowning in overanalysis. Overthinking is a form of mental noise. It gives you the illusion of progress while keeping you trapped in hesitation. The Stoics knew that clarity comes from action. You can ponder every possible outcome, but the truth reveals itself when you move. Thinking less is not about carelessness. It is about focusing your mental energy on decisions and actions that actually matter. Talking less is not about hiding your voice. It is about choosing your words with purpose. When you speak constantly, your words lose weight. When you speak rarely, but with clarity, people listen. The Stoics valued speech that was necessary, truthful, and aligned with virtue. They believed that the discipline to remain silent when silence serves better than speech is a mark of maturity. It takes strength to resist the pull of idle talk, especially when the world demands that you always have an opinion ready. And then there is focus, the art of giving your full attention to what is in front of you. In the Stoic view, focus is not just a productivity skill. It is a moral discipline. To allow your attention to be stolen by trivialities is to betray your own potential. Each day offers you a limited amount of energy. The more you scatter it on things you cannot control or that do not matter, the less you have for the work and relationships that truly deserve it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." When you combine these three, thinking less, talking less, and focusing more, you create a life that is quieter on the surface, but far stronger beneath. You no longer exhaust yourself on arguments that do not matter. You no longer waste days lost in mental spirals about things you cannot change. You begin to move through life with purpose, economy, and peace. People will notice the change. They may call you reserved or mysterious, but what they are sensing is not distance, it is discipline. This discipline is not built in a single day. It comes from small choices repeated over time. Choosing not to comment on something you know will only lead to pointless debate. Choosing to take action on a decision instead of replaying it in your head for the 100th time. Choosing to work deeply on one task while the rest of the world shouts for your attention. Over weeks and months, these choices reshape you. They strip away the noise until only what matters remains. True strength is not in being unshakable because nothing challenges you. It is in becoming unshakable because you have mastered yourself. The storms of life will still come. People will still misunderstand you, criticize you, or try to provoke you. The world will still tempt you with distractions and pull you toward meaningless noise. But when you have learned to think less, talk less, and focus more, those storms lose their power over you. You remain steady because you are no longer tossed around by every gust of external wind. This is the paradox. The Stoics understood silence can speak louder than words, restraint can demonstrate more power than force, and focus can achieve more than scattered effort. In the end, the strongest person in the room is not the one who dominates the conversation, but the one who does not need to. To understand how to live with less noise and more strength, you must first understand the nature of noise itself. Noise is not just the loud conversations in a crowded room or the constant stream of information from your phone. Noise lives in your own mind, in the restless analysis of every possibility, in the replaying of past mistakes, in the endless need to explain yourself to others. The Stoics saw this internal noise as one of the greatest obstacles to peace. Marcus Aurelius called it the agitation of the soul, a restlessness that pulls you away from the present moment. Overthinking is the most common form of this agitation. It often disguises itself as responsibility. You tell yourself you are preparing, planning, or being cautious. But beneath the surface, overthinking is a form of fear. It is the fear of acting without certainty, the fear of making a mistake, the fear of moving forward without complete control. The Stoics knew that complete certainty never comes. Life will always have unknowns, and to demand that every question be answered before you act is to choose paralysis over progress. In the same way, unnecessary talking is another way the mind avoids stillness. Many people speak to fill the space not because they have something worth saying. They fear the discomfort of silence, so they reach for words like a shield. But every word you speak is an action. It costs time, energy, and attention. The Stoics believed that words should be weighed as carefully as gold. Seneca wrote that speech should be like a precious stone, rare, valuable, and shaped with care. If your words do not add clarity, encouragement, or truth, they may be better left unsaid. And then there is the matter of focus. In the modern world, attention is one of the most valuable currencies you have, and nearly everything around you is designed to take it from you. Notifications, entertainment, opinions, and urgent but unimportant tasks all compete for your mind. The Stoics taught that your attention is the foundation of your character. What you focus on shapes what you become. If you focus on distractions, you become scattered. If you focus on what is within your control, you become disciplined. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every thought you entertain is a seed. Overthinking is like planting too many seeds. Without care, they crowd each other out, and nothing grows well. Speaking without intention is like scattering seeds. Anywhere the wind takes them, you lose control over what grows and where. Losing focus is like watering weeds while your flowers wither. The disciplined mind is a carefully tended garden where thoughts are chosen deliberately. Words are spoken with purpose, and attention is given only to what you wish to grow. To begin living this way, start with small acts of restraint. The next time you feel the urge to comment on something irrelevant, hold back. The next time you catch yourself replaying the same thought for the 10th time, ask yourself, will thinking about this again change anything? When you feel your focus slipping toward distraction, bring it back to the task in front of you. These are small victories, but over time they reshape your mind. Consider the example of a young craftsman learning his trade. In the beginning, he tries to take on every project, learn every technique, and talk endlessly about what he is doing. But as he matures, he realizes that mastery does not come from doing everything. It comes from doing a few things with precision. He stops trying to impress others with words and starts letting the quality of his work speak for itself. His shop becomes quieter, his movements more deliberate, his results more remarkable. This is the transformation that comes from thinking less, talking less, and focusing more. The Stoics also knew that this discipline is not just for work, it is for life. When you are in conflict, talking less gives you the space to hear the other person without preparing your next argument in your head. When you face uncertainty, thinking less allows you to act on what you do know rather than being trapped by what you do not. When you are surrounded by noise, focusing more allows you to protect your peace and keep moving toward what matters. This way of living also protects you from manipulation. The more scattered your mind, the easier it is for others to pull you in directions that serve their interests, not yours. But a focused mind is difficult to sway. When you know what matters and guard your attention, you cannot be easily distracted or deceived. This is why the Stoics valued self-control as one of the cardinal virtues. It is the shield that protects your reason from being overpowered by impulse or influence. If you choose to live this way, you will notice changes. At first, people may find you quieter, perhaps even distant, but they will also notice that when you speak, your words carry weight. When you act, your actions have direction. And when you face challenges, you respond with a calm that others cannot quite explain. This is the quiet strength that comes from mastering your own mind. True power does not shout. It does not need to. True power moves with clarity, acts with intention, and rests in the knowledge that it is not dependent on the approval or understanding of others. The Stoics lived this truth, and you can live it too, not by adding more to your life, but by removing the noise that weakens you. If you have listened this far, you may already know the value of silence, clarity, and focus, but knowing is not enough. You must practice. Choose one situation today to think less, talk less, and focus more. See how it changes your experience. And if these words have brought you a moment of clarity, share them with someone who may need the same reminder. You might help them discover the strength that has been within them all along. Silence, clarity, and focus are not qualities you stumble upon by accident. They are skills trained, tested, and strengthened in the same way a muscle grows through resistance. The Stoics did not wait for peace and quiet to arrive before practicing these skills. They created them within themselves, even in the midst of chaos, because they understood that if you can only remain calm when the world is calm, your calmness is weak. In the crowded streets of Rome, Marcus Aurelius carried the weight of an empire, yet his writings reveal a mind that could retreat inward at will. He described it as building a fortress within a place where the noise of the outside world could not reach. This was not escapism, it was mastery of attention. He could hear the demands of generals, the petitions of citizens, the whispers of politics, and still hold steady to his principles. This is what it means to focus more, to decide where your mind will rest, regardless of where your body stands. Training for this begins with observation. Most people move through their days reacting to whatever arrives in front of them. A message appears and they answer it immediately. A headline flashes and they dive into it. A conversation turns heated and they jump in without thought. The Stoic trains differently. He notices the impulse to react, and instead of obeying it immediately, he pauses. In that pause is power, the power to choose a response instead of being carried away by reflex. Over time, this pause becomes second nature. It is like a skilled archer who no longer needs to think about adjusting his aim, his body knows. In the same way, a disciplined mind does not need to wrestle with every impulse. It knows which ones to follow and which to release. The result is not cold detachment, but a calm precision that allows you to engage with life more effectively. Talking less plays a vital role here. When you speak less, you listen more, not just to others, but to yourself. You hear the first sparks of anger before they ignite into words you cannot take back. You hear the quiet warning of intuition before the noise of other voices drowns it out. You notice when you are speaking from ego instead of truth. This awareness allows you to cut away the unnecessary and speak only what is useful, honest, and timely. Consider the example of a commander in battle. The less he speaks, the more his words matter. If he is constantly issuing orders for every minor thing, his voice becomes background noise. But if he remains quiet until the moment requires action, his soldiers will listen with full attention. In the same way, your own words carry more weight when they are not lost in a flood of unnecessary talk. Thinking less is closely linked to this. The mind that overthinks is like a wheel spinning without traction. It moves constantly but goes nowhere. The Stoics replaced overthinking with purposeful thought. They did not try to eliminate thinking altogether, but they refused to let it run wild. They would define the problem clearly, decide what was within their control, and then act. Anything beyond that was seen as wasted energy. This is why focus is so important. Without focus, your mind will slip back into overthinking and your words will scatter. Focus is the guard at the gate of your attention, deciding which thoughts and actions are allowed in and which must be turned away. In our modern world, this gate is under constant attack. You carry in your pocket a device that offers an endless stream of distractions. Without discipline, your attention will be stolen in fragments until nothing of value remains. The Stoics would tell you that your focus is your life. What you choose to look at, to think about, to work on, that is who you become. If you spend your days focused on gossip, you will become small-minded. If you focus on outrage, you will become bitter. If you focus on things beyond your control, you will become powerless. But if you focus on your own character, your craft, your contribution, you will grow into someone who cannot be shaken by the noise of the world. To build this, you must practice deliberately. Choose times in your day to be unreachable. Work without checking your phone. Read without multitasking. Sit in silence for a few minutes without music, screens, or conversation, and notice what surfaces in your mind. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. The modern mind is addicted to noise, and silence will feel like withdrawal. But if you stay with it, you will discover a deeper strength, a strength that comes from no longer needing constant stimulation. There will be resistance. People may misinterpret your quiet as arrogance or detachment. They may think you are less engaged because you do not fill every space with words. This is where you must remember the Stoic principle: you cannot control what others think of you. Your responsibility is not to be understood by everyone, but to live according to what you know is right. Let your actions speak where words cannot. In the end, thinking less, talking less, and focusing more is not about becoming less involved in life. It is about being more present in the moments that matter. You will find yourself not only achieving more, but enjoying more, because your attention is no longer scattered. You will be less drained at the end of the day, not because life is easier, but because you have stopped wasting energy on what does not matter. True strength does not announce itself. It is felt in the calm of your presence, in the clarity of your decisions, and in the steadiness of your focus. This is the strength the Stoics cultivated, and it is the strength you can build starting now. If you have listened this far, then you are already different from most. You are willing to question the noise around you and within you. Take that willingness and turn it into action. Choose one part of your day to practice silence, one decision to make without overthinking, and one task to give your full attention. And if these words have helped you see the power in doing less, but doing it better, share them with someone who needs to hear it. There is a story about a blacksmith who lived in a small village. Every day he worked in silence at his forge, hammering steel into tools, weapons, and works of art. He rarely spoke, and when he did, his words were few and measured. People in the village often wondered why he kept so much to himself. Yet when a storm destroyed the only bridge to the next town, it was the blacksmith who repaired it. When a farmer's tools broke during harvest, it was the blacksmith who provided replacements overnight. Over time, people realized that his quiet was not emptiness. It was focus. He had been building strength and skill in the background, ready to serve when the moment came. This is the essence of the Stoic principle. Do not waste energy proving your worth with constant talk. Prove it through action. The blacksmith did not announce his skill. He demonstrated it, and this is why thinking less, talking less, and focusing more is so powerful. It allows your life itself to be the message. In our time, the temptation to broadcast every thought and action is stronger than ever. Social platforms encourage constant sharing, rewarding visibility over substance. The danger is that you spend more time telling the world you are doing something than actually doing it. The Stoics would see this as a trap. Seneca warned that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor. In the same way, it is not the person with fewer words who is lacking, but the one who needs to speak constantly to feel significant. Another example can be found in the life of Marcus Aurelius himself. As emperor, he could have commanded endless attention, delivering speeches daily to remind the people of his power. Instead, he kept his deepest reflections private, recording them in a journal meant only for himself. His words to the world were concise and purposeful, but his thoughts were sharpened in silence. When crises came, the plague wars, political unrest, he responded with steady leadership rooted in those private hours of disciplined reflection. His restraint in words made his actions all the more impactful. Thinking less does not mean shutting down your mind. It means stopping the endless spinning that comes from trying to anticipate every possible outcome. Imagine a ship captain who, instead of steering, spends all his time drawing and redrawing maps of where the storm might go. Meanwhile, the storm is already here and the ship drifts into danger. The Stoics believed that preparation is good, but there comes a point when thought must give way to decisive action. Overthinking can become a form of hiding away to avoid the discomfort of committing. Talking less, too, is a form of strength. In argument, for example, silence can be more powerful than the perfect comeback. Words can entangle you in battles that serve no purpose. By holding your tongue, you conserve energy for battles that truly matter. The Stoics understood that time and attention are finite. Every unnecessary word is a withdrawal from your account of strength. Focus ties these two disciplines together. Without focus, your reduced talking and thinking will not serve you. They will simply leave space for new distractions to creep in. Focus is choosing where to invest your energy and then guarding that choice fiercely. It means saying no to opportunities that pull you away from your purpose, even if they seem appealing. It means being able to sit with one task, one conversation, one goal without the constant itch to switch. A modern example can be seen in athletes at the highest level. Before a major event, they often withdraw from public attention, limiting interviews, cutting off unnecessary contact, and refining their routines. To outsiders, it may look like isolation. In reality, it is a sharpening of the blade. They are conserving every drop of mental energy for the moment it is needed. The same principle applies to anyone seeking mastery in any field. Remove the noise and your efforts will hit with greater force. Practicing this in daily life can be surprisingly simple, though not always easy. Start by identifying one area where you are leaking energy, perhaps through too much talking, too much thinking, or too many scattered tasks. Choose one small adjustment, speak only after listening fully, set a time limit on decision-making, or commit to completing one task before starting another. These small acts accumulate, building a foundation of quiet strength that grows with time. The challenge is that the world will not understand at first. People may question your silence, interpret your restraint as disinterest, or pressure you to engage in every conversation and debate. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes essential. You are not here to satisfy every opinion. You are here to live in alignment with your principles. Epictetus reminded his students that you cannot control the thoughts or judgments of others, but you can control your own actions. The discipline to remain unmoved by misunderstanding is part of the strength you are building. Over months and years, you will notice something remarkable. Your life becomes lighter. Without the weight of constant overthinking, you move faster. Without the drain of unnecessary talk, Your words carry more meaning. Without the pull of scattered focus, your actions become sharper. You will achieve more with less effort, not because life is easier, but because you have stopped scattering yourself. In the end, true strength is not about dominating others, it is about mastering yourself. When you think less, you free your mind from paralysis. When you talk less, you preserve the power of your words. When you focus more, you direct your energy where it can create the greatest impact. This is the path the Stoics walked, and it is open to you now. If you have listened this far, you are already practicing one of the core Stoic virtues: attention to what matters. Take this as your invitation to go further. For the next 24 hours, choose to think less about things you cannot control. Speak less about things that do not matter and focus more on one meaningful task. Then watch how even a single day lived this way can change the way you feel, act, and see the world. And if this has given you clarity, share it with someone you care about. You may give them the key to unlocking their own quiet strength. Strength of mind is built the same way strength of body is built, through deliberate, repeated practice under the right kind of resistance. The Stoics did not wait for perfect conditions to test their principles. They trained in the middle of life's noise because they understood that silence, clarity, and focus are not gifts. They are skills forged in challenge. One of the simplest yet most powerful exercises in the Stoic tradition is voluntary silence. For a set period each day, choose not to speak, unless your words are absolutely necessary. This is not the silence of withdrawal or resentment. It is the silence of sharpening. When you hold your tongue, you begin to hear the constant commentary in your own mind. You notice how often you are tempted to fill space with words that add nothing. You learn to be comfortable in the pause, to let thoughts settle before turning them into speech. Seneca advised, let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words. Practicing this daily creates a kind of strength that is invisible to most, but deeply felt by those who live it. Another practice is controlled thinking. The modern world praises multitasking and endless mental juggling, but the Stoics understood the danger of a scattered mind. They would deliberately set aside time to think through a single question or problem, refusing to drift into unrelated concerns. Marcus Aurelius often took one principle and examined it from every angle. What does it mean? How does it apply today? Where have I failed to live it before moving on? In your own life, you can practice this by setting aside a block of time for focused thought on one matter, shutting out other distractions entirely. This is mental weightlifting for your focus. A third exercise is attention discipline. Choose a task, no matter how small, and give it your complete, undivided attention. Wash the dishes without checking your phone. Read a page without letting your eyes skip ahead. Have a conversation without preparing your reply while the other person is still speaking. This trains your mind to stay rooted in the present, instead of scattering itself across a dozen places at once. Epictetus taught that when you are engaged in any activity, remind yourself of the nature of that activity, meaning be fully in it, not half in and half out. These practices might seem too simple to matter, but simplicity is their strength. They require no special tools, no ideal conditions, only your willingness to try. And the benefits compound over time. In the beginning, you will notice how restless you feel when you do not speak. You will feel the pull of overthinking when you limit your thoughts to a single topic. You will feel the itch to check something else when focusing on one task. But with each repetition, the restlessness fades, and you begin to feel a different sensation control. There is a reason the Stoics saw self-control as the foundation of all other virtues. Without it, wisdom becomes scattered, courage turns reckless, and justice is inconsistent. Self-control is what keeps your principles intact under pressure, and self-control is exactly what these exercises strengthen. Consider the analogy of an archer. His skill is not just in aiming, it is in holding the bow steady, despite the wind, the noise, the distractions. Each practice session builds not only his physical strength, but his mental discipline to focus entirely on the target. In the same way, your daily practice of silence, focused thought, and full attention builds the stability you need to stay on target in the chaos of life. You will find that as your ability to think less, talk less, and focus more grows, your presence changes. People begin to notice that you do not get pulled into every argument. They see that when you speak, your words are deliberate. They sense that your mind is not scattered. This quiet authority earns respect without you asking for it. And more importantly, it gives you a steady place to stand when the world shakes. It is worth remembering that this strength is not about isolation. The Stoics were deeply engaged in the world. They led armies, governed empires, taught students, supported friends. But they refused to let the world dictate the state of their minds. Their strength came from this balance, fully participating in life while protecting the sovereignty of their inner world. If you want to adopt this way of living, start small. Today, choose 1 hour for voluntary silence. During that hour, observe your thoughts, your urges to speak, and the reasons behind them. Tomorrow, dedicate 15 minutes to thinking through one question or challenge without distraction. The next day, focus completely on one simple task until it is done. These small practices will feel insignificant at first, but like drops of water carving stone, they reshape your mind over time. And when challenges arrive, as they always do, you will find yourself ready. You will not need to scramble for calm because you have been practicing calm. You will not need to fight for focus because you have been strengthening it daily. You will not be shaken by noise because you have learned to stand in silence. If you have listened this far, you are already different from most. You are choosing to train the qualities that the world overlooks, but that define true strength. Take a moment to reflect. In the last week, how much of your energy was spent on noise, and how much was spent on what matters? Your answer will tell you exactly where your next step should be. And if these words have helped you see the value of silence, clarity, and focus, share them with someone who needs a reminder that strength is built quietly long before it is seen. Life will test your discipline most fiercely when emotions run high. It is one thing to practice silence, clarity, and focus in the calm of your own space. It is another to hold them in the heat of conflict, when every instinct pushes you to speak quickly, think endlessly, and scatter your attention across a dozen fears. This is where the true depth of the Stoic way is revealed, not in the absence of storms, but in the ability to navigate them without losing your center. When conflict arises, the urge to talk is strong. You want to defend yourself, to correct what you believe is wrong, to be heard and understood. But in heated moments, more words rarely bring more clarity. Instead, they often fuel the fire. The Stoics trained themselves to pause before speaking, to let the first surge of emotion pass before deciding whether words were even necessary. Seneca warned that anger, if not restrained, is often more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. Holding your tongue in these moments is not weakness. It is a deliberate choice to avoid making the situation worse. Thinking less in conflict does not mean ignoring the problem. It means resisting the spiral of mental storytelling that often follows an emotional trigger. You might replay the conversation in your mind, invent motives for the other person's behavior, and predict endless negative outcomes. This mental noise does not help you act wisely. It traps you in a loop of resentment or fear. The Stoics practiced reducing the problem to its simplest form. What actually happened? What is within my control? What is the best next action? Everything beyond that was discarded as unhelpful. Focus in a crisis is both the most challenging and the most necessary discipline. Fear pulls your attention toward the future, toward what might happen, toward what you cannot change. Distraction pulls you towards side issues that do not matter in the moment. But focus anchors you in the task at hand. For Marcus Aurelius, focus meant continuing his duties as emperor even during a plague that threatened Rome. He could not cure the disease himself, but he could lead, decide, and act within his sphere of influence. The same principle applies to any crisis. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Imagine a firefighter entering a burning building. His survival depends on silence, clarity, and focus. He does not waste breath on unnecessary talk. He does not allow his mind to spiral into panic over what might happen in 10 minutes. He keeps his attention on the next step, one hallway, one door, one life at a time. In your own challenges, the stakes may not be life or death, but the principle remains. The more you control your words, your thoughts, and your focus, the more effectively you move through danger. Of course, there will be times when emotion feels overwhelming. The Stoics were not immune to this. They simply refused to be ruled by it. Epictetus reminded his students that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. In moments of crisis, you can choose to step back from the raw emotion, to see the situation as if from above, to ask, if I were advising a friend in this exact moment, what would I tell them to do? This shift in perspective often brings enough space for wisdom to enter. Applying these principles in personal relationships is equally powerful. In arguments with loved ones, the instinct to win can destroy the opportunity to understand. Talking less allows you to truly hear the other person's point of view. Thinking less keeps you from inventing motives or exaggerating their faults in your mind. Focusing more ensures that your attention is on resolving the issue, not on scoring points or proving superiority. This approach does not guarantee that every relationship will be saved, but it does guarantee that you will act with integrity and self-control, two things you will never regret. In professional settings, silence, clarity, and focus can turn a volatile situation into an opportunity for leadership. When others are panicking, your calm presence becomes a stabilizing force. When others rush to speak, your considered words carry more weight. When others scatter their attention, your ability to keep the main priority in sight allows you to make progress while they are still reacting. The truth is that crises reveal the work you have done in quieter times. If you have practiced daily restraint in speech, daily clarity in thought, and daily discipline in focus, you will not need to build those skills in the middle of chaos. They will already be there, ready to serve you. This is why the Stoics trained constantly, not because they expected disaster every day, but because they knew that preparation was the only path to steadiness. If you have listened this far, then you understand that strength is not proven in calm waters. It is proven in the storm. Take this as your challenge the next time tension rises. Slow your speech, cut away unnecessary thoughts, and focus entirely on the next right action. You will find that you not only survive the storm, but you emerge from it with greater confidence in your own ability to lead yourself. And if this message has helped you see the power of restraint in chaos, share it with someone who might be facing their own storm right now. In nature, the strongest forces are often the quietest. The mountain does not need to shout to prove its height. The river does not boast of its persistence as it carves through stone. The wind at the highest peaks moves with a silent power that bends forests and shapes landscapes. True strength does not announce itself. It simply exists, steady and unshaken, and its influence is undeniable. The Stoics understood this truth and sought to embody it in their own lives. They knew that constant noise, whether in words or thoughts, is often a sign of insecurity. The tree that sways wildly in every gust has shallow roots. The warrior who brags the loudest before battle is often the first to falter when the fight begins. In contrast, those with deep roots and real skill conserve their energy. They do not need to prove themselves with noise because their presence alone carries weight. Consider the strategy of a seasoned general. Before a battle, he does not reveal all his plans. He studies the terrain, understands his forces, and observes his enemy in silence. He speaks to his officers only when necessary, ensuring that each word serves a clear purpose. His mind is not clouded by imagining every possible disaster. Instead, he focuses on the most likely scenarios and prepares for them. When the time for action comes, his troops move with precision, not confusion, because his clarity has guided them. This is the military equivalent of thinking less, talking less, and focusing more. The Stoics often used metaphors from nature and war because both require discipline, patience, and the ability to act decisively. In war, talking too much can reveal your position to the enemy. Thinking too much can cause you to miss the moment of opportunity. Losing focus can turn a winning strategy into a defeat. In life, the same rules apply. Every unnecessary word can be a leak of energy. Every wasted thought can be a delay in action. Every loss of focus can be the difference between progress and stagnation. A river is another perfect teacher. It moves steadily, adjusting to obstacles without losing its direction. It does not crash against every rock with the same force. It flows around them, conserving energy for the deeper work of carving the land. In the same way, the Stoic learns not to confront every problem with brute force or endless discussion. Some challenges are best met by flowing around them, staying focused on the larger goal rather than getting lost in minor battles. In your own life, you can apply this by asking yourself, is this worth my words? Is this worth my thoughts? Is this worth my focus? Many situations will not pass these tests, and by letting them go, you preserve your energy for the ones that truly matter. Over time, this habit builds an inner stillness that is as strong and unmoving as a mountain, yet as adaptable as a river. The paradox is that this kind of quiet strength often goes unnoticed until it is needed most. People may overlook the mountain until they need shelter in its shadow. They may ignore the river until they need its water to survive. Likewise, your own restraint may not draw attention in ordinary times, but in moments of crisis or challenge, it will become the most valuable force in the room. The Stoics trained for this by practicing in small daily ways. They would delay speaking in meetings or gatherings to see if silence could achieve the same result as words. They would choose a single problem to solve each day, instead of scattering their efforts across many. They would walk away from debates that served only the ego and not the truth. These small acts built the muscle of restraint, so that when larger challenges arose, they could respond with the same quiet precision. There is also a spiritual dimension to this discipline. The Stoics believed that your inner world is your true fortress. No matter how chaotic the outside world becomes, you can always choose what enters your mind and where your attention rests. This is not about ignoring reality. It is about engaging with it from a position of strength. Just as a fortress has gates that open only for what is beneficial, your mind must have boundaries that protect it from unnecessary noise. In practice, this means filtering your inputs. The conversations you engage and the information you consume, the thoughts you entertain, all are either strengthening or weakening your focus. If you allow gossip, outrage, or trivial distractions to dominate your mind, you are leaving the gates of your fortress wide open. But if you choose carefully, allowing only what serves your growth and purpose, you will find that your mind becomes a place of stability and clarity. And when the time for action comes, this stored energy becomes a decisive advantage. Just as a general unleashes a well-prepared army at the right moment, you can unleash your focus and words with precision when they will have the greatest impact. People will wonder how you manage to stay calm and decisive under pressure. They may call it talent or luck, but you will know it is the result of deliberate training of learning to think less, talk less, and focus more. If you have listened this far, take a moment to ask yourself, where in your life are you leaking strength through unnecessary words, wasted thoughts, or scattered attention? The answer will show you exactly where to begin. And remember, strength does not come from what you do occasionally, but from what you practice consistently. Share this message with someone who needs to be reminded that silence and focus are not signs of weakness. They are the roots of unshakable power. There is a kind of discipline that cannot be faked. It shows not in what you say about yourself, but in what you consistently do when no one is watching. The Stoics lived by this truth. They understood that every unnecessary word, every wasted thought, every moment of scattered attention was like a slow leak in the vessel of their strength. Over time, the smallest leak can sink the largest ship. So they patched the leaks daily through silence, through focus, through the art of thinking only what is necessary. Imagine walking through a marketplace in ancient Rome. Merchants are shouting over each other, each trying to pull your attention toward their stall. The noise is constant. The smells and colors compete for your senses. In the middle of this chaos, you see a man moving slowly, deliberately. He is not distracted by the calls, nor does he stop to argue over every price. He knows exactly what he came for, and he moves toward it without being pulled off course. This is the image of a focused life. While the crowd is caught in the noise, he is guided by clarity. In the modern world, the marketplace has moved into our pockets and onto our screens. Every notification is a merchant shouting for your attention. Every headline is a tug on your focus. The danger is not just that you lose time, it is that you lose yourself bit by bit until you are living reactively instead of intentionally. The Stoics would remind you that your attention is your most valuable possession and that giving it away carelessly is like giving away pieces of your own life. Talking less is one way to protect it. When you do not feel the need to respond to everything, you conserve the mental energy that would otherwise be spent crafting arguments, defending your views, or proving your worth. You free yourself from the endless loop of reaction and counter-reaction. This does not mean being passive. It means choosing battles worth fighting and conversations worth having. As Epictetus said, if you wish to be a writer, write. If you wish to be a philosopher, think. The message is simple. Focus your actions where they matter most. Thinking less serves the same goal. When you strip away the mental noise, you can see problems more clearly and act on them more effectively. Overthinking often creates problems that were never there to begin with. It is like stirring muddy water. The more you stir, the cloudier it becomes. But if you leave it still, the sediment settles and the water clears. The Stoics practiced this kind of stillness daily, not because they were indifferent to the world, but because they wanted to meet it with a clear mind. Focus is where silence and clarity meet. Without focus, silence becomes emptiness and clarity remains unused. Focus takes the energy you have conserved and directs it toward what matters most. Your work, your growth, your relationships, your principles. It is not enough to remove the noise. You must replace it with purpose. If you want to begin living this way, you can start today. Choose 1 hour to live as the Stoics did. Speak only when necessary, think only about what is within your control, and focus entirely on one task. This hour will feel different from the rest of your day, lighter, calmer, more intentional. The more often you create hours like this, the more they will shape the way you live all the time. And here is where I want to speak directly to you. If you have listened this far, chances are you are not satisfied with a life of distraction. You are not willing to keep giving away your time, your attention, your peace to things that do not deserve them. Take a moment right now to reflect on the last 3 decisions you made. Did they move you toward the person you want to become, or did they pull you further away? Only you can answer that question, and only you can decide what happens next. If these ideas resonate with you, do not let them stay as ideas. Put them into practice before the day ends. And if you found this message meaningful, share it with someone who might need it. You never know. Your choice to pass it on could be the spark that helps someone else reclaim their focus, their clarity, and their strength. And remember to stay connected, because the journey to mastery is not walked in a single step. It is built moment by moment in the way you choose to live. The greatest mistake people make when they set out to improve their lives is believing they must wait for better conditions before they begin. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect resources, the perfect version of themselves. But perfection never comes. The Stoics understood that life is lived in the present, and that the only tools you truly have are the ones in your hands right now. To delay is to waste the very thing you are trying to protect: time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste the rest of your life wondering about others. Unless it is to serve them, it will keep you from doing something useful." In other words, stop waiting for the circumstances to change and start working with what is already within your reach. This is where the principles of thinking less, talking less, and focusing more become essential. They strip away the excuses, the distractions, and the unnecessary noise, leaving only the clear space where action can happen. Thinking less allows you to see the reality of your situation without drowning in fear or fantasy. Instead of saying, "I cannot start because I do not have enough," you ask, "What can I do with what I already have?" Talking less keeps you from seeking validation before you act. You do not waste time announcing your intentions or debating your worth. You simply take the next step. And focusing more ensures that your energy is aimed directly at progress, not scattered across 100 unimportant tasks. There is a story about a man who inherited a small, neglected plot of land. The soil was dry, the tools were few, and the weeds had taken over. Many told him it was not worth the effort, that he should wait until he could buy better land. But instead, he began with what he had. He cleared one row, planted one type of seed, and cared for it daily. Within months, the row was thriving. He expanded to the next and then the next. By the time others noticed, his once barren land had become a flourishing garden. He did not wait for the perfect moment, he created it. This is the Stoic way. You start where you are because where you are is the only place you can act. You work with what you have because what you have is enough to take the first step. And you trust that with discipline and focus, the small beginning will grow into something greater. The alternative, waiting for ideal conditions, only guarantees that nothing will happen at all. In practice, this might mean beginning your exercise routine with the body you have today, not the one you hope to have months from now. It might mean starting your business with the skills you currently possess, improving them along the way instead of waiting until you feel ready. It might mean speaking less about your goals and letting the results speak for themselves. The Stoics would also remind you that the mindset you bring to your circumstances matters more than the circumstances themselves. Two people can face the same challenge, and one will see a dead end while the other sees an opportunity to adapt. By thinking less about what could go wrong and more about what can be done, you open the door to possibilities that fear would have hidden from you. Talking less protects this mindset from the influence of doubt, both yours and others. Once you put your plans into the world, people will project their fears, their limitations, and their failures onto you. The less you expose your early steps to unnecessary commentary, the more freedom you have to act without interference. This is not secrecy, it is strategy. And focus is the force that drives it all forward. Without focus, you will start many things and finish none. The Stoics valued consistency over speed, knowing that small focused actions repeated daily will outlast bursts of frantic energy. Working with what you have is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right things again and again until the results cannot be ignored. Think of a sculptor beginning with a rough block of stone. He does not have every tool in the world, nor does he need them. He begins with what he has: a chisel, a hammer, his hands, and he focuses on one small section at a time. To the untrained eye, it might seem like nothing is changing, but each strike is deliberate, each movement removing what does not belong. In time, the form emerges, and what was once a formless block becomes a work of art. This is how change is made, with patience, precision, and the discipline to keep going. If you have listened this far, you already know that waiting is the enemy of progress. Start where you are, even if it feels too small. Work with what you have, even if it feels incomplete. and apply the principles of the Stoics: think less, talk less, focus more, so that every ounce of your energy moves you forward. Take a moment now to identify one action you can take today using only what is already available to you. Do it before the day ends. And if this message has helped you see that you do not need to wait for perfect conditions, share it with someone who has been standing still for too long. You may help them take their first step toward the life they have been delaying. There is a difference between having strength for a moment and having strength for a lifetime. Many people can summon discipline for a few days, or focus intensely for a short project, or hold their tongue in one heated conversation. But the Stoics were not interested in temporary control. They pursued a strength that could last through decades, a strength that could carry them through wars, losses, sickness, and the endless unpredictability of life. Sustaining strength over the long term requires more than willpower. Willpower can be exhausted. It is like a muscle that tires after repeated use. What the Stoics built was a system of living that naturally conserved their energy and reinforced their focus. This is why they valued the habits of thinking less, talking less, and focusing more, not as one-time acts of discipline, but as a way of life. Thinking less does not mean ignoring problems or shutting off curiosity. It means refusing to feed the endless mental noise that drains your clarity. Over time, this practice frees you from the habit of overcomplicating your life. You stop turning small inconveniences into mountains of frustration. You stop imagining worst-case scenarios that paralyze your action. You train your mind to identify what is within your control and to let go of the rest. In the long run, this mental economy preserves enormous amounts of energy you can invest into what truly matters. Talking less serves a similar purpose. When you do not feel compelled to speak at every opportunity, you conserve not just your voice, but your credibility. Your words begin to carry more weight because they are rare, considered, and necessary. People come to know that when you speak, it is worth listening. Over years, this builds a reputation for steadiness and wisdom, which in turn creates opportunities and relationships built on trust. Focus is the element that binds these together and transforms them into enduring strength. Without focus, your conserved energy will dissipate into distractions. Without focus, your clarity will not translate into results. The Stoics knew that attention is the foundation of all progress, and that guarding it is a daily task. They treated focus like a fortress with gates that open only for what serves their purpose. This kind of vigilance practiced over years turns consistency into power. Sustaining this way of living requires intentional habits. The Stoics journaled daily, not as a public act, but as a private conversation with themselves. They reviewed their actions each evening, asking where they had wasted thought spoken unnecessarily or allowed their focus to wander. They used these observations not for self-condemnation, but for course correction. This nightly practice was a compass, ensuring that each day was aligned with their principles. Another long-term habit was simplicity. The Stoics believed that the fewer unnecessary things you have, the less you have to think about, talk about, and maintain. This did not mean living without comfort. It meant avoiding the kind of excess that clutters the mind and scatters attention. When your life is simpler, your decisions are easier, and your focus is sharper. Relationships also played a role in sustaining strength. The Stoics chose companions who shared their values or who challenged them to live better. They knew that the people around you can either reinforce your focus or pull you into noise and distraction. Over time, they cultivated circles of trust and mutual growth where silence was not awkward and focus was respected. If you have been listening to this message and feel a pull toward this way of living, know that you do not need to change everything at once. Enduring strength is built through small, consistent choices. Today, you can choose to let go of one unnecessary worry. You can choose to hold your tongue once when you might otherwise speak without purpose. You can choose to give your full attention to one task without distraction. These acts may seem small, but repeated over months and years, they will change the very structure of your mind. And I want to speak to you directly here. If you have listened this far, you are already doing what most people will not. You are seeking to live intentionally in a world that thrives on distraction. That choice alone puts you on a different path, but the path only matters if you walk it. Take a moment now to commit not in words, but in action. Let the rest of today be a practice in thinking less, talking less, and focusing more. Then do it again tomorrow, and again the day after that. This is how temporary effort becomes a permanent way of life. If this message has helped you see the value of discipline that lasts, share it with someone who is ready to stop relying on bursts of motivation and start building real, unshakable strength. The journey is long, but it is worth every step and every moment of silence, clarity, and focus you can give it. There comes a point in every journey when you must look back, not to dwell on the past, but to see how far you have come. When you first begin the discipline of thinking less, talking less, and focusing more, the changes can feel subtle, almost invisible. You might wonder if your silence is making a difference, if your efforts to clear your mind are truly worth it. But over time, the results begin to show in ways that are impossible to ignore. The arguments you used to jump into no longer tempt you. The overthinking that once kept you awake at night has loosened its grip. The tasks you once abandoned halfway are now completed with care. And perhaps most importantly, you feel a steadiness inside you that does not depend on circumstances. This is the slow, patient reward of the Stoic path. It is not dramatic, but it is unshakable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The truth of this becomes more vivid the longer you practice. You begin to see that the real battle is never with the outside world. It is always with your own impulses, your own reactions, your own distractions. And every time you choose restraint over reaction, clarity over chaos, focus over scattering, you win another step of that battle. It is tempting to think that this way of living will one day make life easy, but the Stoics would caution against such illusions. Life will remain unpredictable. Challenges will still come. People will still misunderstand you, but the difference is that you will meet all of it with a mind that is clear, a tongue that is measured, and a focus that is unbroken. This is not about escaping hardship. It is about becoming the kind of person who can walk through it without being diminished. You might imagine your life as a long voyage. At the beginning, your ship is battered by every wave, spun by every change in the wind. But as you learn to control your sails, as you lighten the load by throwing overboard unnecessary thoughts and words, the ship becomes easier to steer. You begin to chart your own course, and the storms, while still powerful, no longer decide your destination. This way of living also has a quiet influence on those around you. People will notice your calm without you pointing it out. They will come to you for guidance, not because you talk the loudest, but because your words are rare and grounded. They will trust your presence because they can see that it is not easily shaken. In this way, your private discipline becomes a public service. But the journey is never finished. Just as a musician must continue to practice even after mastering a piece, you must continue to refine your mind, your words, and your focus. There will be days when you slip, when you speak too quickly, think too much, or scatter your attention. The Stoics did not see these moments as failures, but as reminders to return to the practice. Perfection was never the goal. Consistency was. And I want to speak to you directly here as I have in other moments in this journey. If you have listened this far, you have already proven that you are willing to do what most people avoid. You are willing to examine your life, to question your habits, to seek a better way. That alone sets you apart. The question now is whether you will carry these lessons beyond this moment. Will you let them shape the way you speak tomorrow, the way you think next week, the way you focus for the rest of this year? If these words have been a mirror for you showing where your attention leaks away, where your mind gets tangled, where your voice is wasted, then let today be the day you change the pattern. You do not need a grand gesture. You need a decision to live with intention, to guard your mind like a fortress, to let your words be rare and your focus be fierce. Share this message with someone who is ready to stop drifting and start steering. Because the truth is, strength grows in the quiet moments when no one is watching. And those moments, repeated again and again, are what make a life that is not just endured, but mastered. Every journey worth taking ends not with applause, but with a quiet realization. You see, the goal of this path was never to become admired for your restraint, praised for your focus, or recognized for your clarity. The goal was always to master yourself, to build an inner fortress so steady that no storm can breach it. And if you have walked with me through each part of this journey, you already know that the work is not done when the video ends. The work begins now, in the choices you make from this moment forward. True strength has nothing to prove. It does not rush to respond. It does not waste its breath trying to convince the world of its value. It does not scatter its energy on every distraction that comes knocking. Instead, it stands firm, speaks with purpose, and acts with unwavering direction. The Stoics knew that this kind of strength could not be given. It had to be built brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. Think of a blacksmith forging a blade. The steel is heated, hammered, cooled, and shaped again. Each strike of the hammer removes weakness. Each pass through the fire strengthens the core. It is a slow, repetitive process, but when it is done, the blade is unbreakable. In the same way, every moment you resist the urge to speak without purpose. Every time you stop yourself from overthinking, every hour you give your full attention to one task, you are hammering out the weaknesses in your own mind and forging something that will last. This discipline is not glamorous. Most of your victories will be invisible to others. No one will cheer when you choose not to reply to a pointless argument. No one will celebrate the thoughts you choose to discard before they take root. No one will notice the hours you spend in deep, uninterrupted work. But you will know. You will feel the difference. And in the moments when life tests you, that quiet, invisible strength will stand like a wall against the chaos. The world will always try to pull you away from this. It will tell you to speak more, to think more, to do more often, without asking whether those words, those thoughts, those actions have any meaning. It will feed you a constant diet of urgency, trying to convince you that if you are not reacting, you are falling behind. But the truth is the opposite. Reaction is the enemy of direction. When you choose stillness before action, clarity before words, focus before movement, you are not falling behind. You are getting ahead in the only race that matters, the race to live with purpose. And here is where I want to leave you with something to carry. Your life will be filled with moments where you must decide, will I speak or will I remain silent? Will I feed this thought or will I let it go? Will I scatter my attention or will I give it fully to what matters? Each time you choose the latter, you are choosing strength over weakness, mastery over impulse, freedom over captivity. If you have listened all the way to this final moment, then you are not here by accident. You are ready for this. You are ready to step into the world not as someone tossed by its winds, but as someone who can walk steadily through them. You are ready to live with the kind of strength that needs no recognition because it is its own reward. So go forward from here and remember, your mind is your fortress. Guard it well. Your words are your weapons. Use them with care. Your focus is your compass. Follow it relentlessly. And when the world around you grows loud, chaotic, and demanding, return to this truth. Think less, talk less, focus more. In that space you will find a freedom and a strength that no one can take from you. If these words have stirred something in you, do not let it fade. Act on it today, and share it with someone you believe is ready to step into their own strength. You never know whose life might change because you had the courage to live differently.
If this message stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Write one thing down that you'll start doing this week. 2025 doesn't magically change anything you do, and your future begins the moment you decide to move, even just a little.